I'm Chris Thomas, the publishing producer on Battleborn at 2K, and at the core, what Battleborn is it's a first-person shooter. It's the next big IP from Gearbox Software. It's all about characters and this really incredible story that we have. We're going to launch with 25 playable characters, all of which are completely unique and have their own personalities and their own play styles and their own abilities. And it's really cool because these 25 characters are having to essentially band together to save the entire universe and really the last star in the universe, because all of the rest of the stars in the universe have been destroyed by some sinister race or force that we don't really understand yet. So it's really cool to see how all of these characters work together, and their personalities are all crazy and different. So some of them like each other, some of them hate each other, but seeing how these different factions and characters come together is actually really, really fun and really cool.
What modes will the game have? Is it only co-op online multiplayer, or does it have some cooperative modes, a local co-op, and can you play the game all by yourself?
All of the above, actually. You can play single player, or you can play with up to 5 players in the story mode, and the competitive mode is 5v5. So obviously you got 10 players there, and that's only in competitive. So you can also do split screen. You do 2-player split screen in the story mode or in the competitive.
How big will the maps be, and will they differ greatly in size? And will there be any difference between the environments of the campaign and the multiplayer mode?
The maps are pretty big. I mean, the maps for the story mode are pretty big because you have to obviously tell an entire story within those maps. The way the story mode works actually is it's told in these chapters. So it's like if you're watching an episode of like your favorite TV series or whatever, you're gonna get like that full story campaign or that story told to you within a single chapter. But if you watch multiples in a row, you're going to get an overarching narrative told to you. So those maps are pretty big. The competitive modes, they have to all be for 10 players, and with that many players in a map, they also have to be they have to be pretty big, but they do vary in size depending on which map you're playing in each one of the modes.
If I'm correct, then every player will fit a different role in the team. Can you tell us what they will be, and will there be different roles than the 4 typical roles like assault, medic, tank, and support?
Okay. Yes, there are many roles and many hybrid roles. So you're going to get your support class characters, but you're also going to get your support class characters that are more about dealing damage and more about or more about healing versus more about buffing or debuffing. You're also going to get the melee characters. Some of them are more of assassin classes, so they're all about doing tons and tons of damage. You're also going to get some that are more tanky. So you'll have Thorgrin who has this huge shield and he can just soak up tons of damage. You're going to have support, tank. You're going to have some just general assault type classes like Oscar Mike. And then you're gonna have some the really weird hybrid classes like Benedict's one of our new characters that we're talking about at Gamescom, and Benedict he's definitely a damage dealer, but he's also extremely mobile because he can fly. So he's this huge hawk guy with a giant rocket launcher, so he can fly around the map, and also he has like that old school gameplay where you can like rocket jump. So that's actually a ton of fun. It's like my favorite character right now. Yeah, so there's pretty much all those support classes. I mean, all those different types of classes.
Yeah, so there are actually over 20 characters from the start in the game. And here at Gamescom, you unveiled 4 more. How do you make sure that every one of them will be fun to play and will be picked up by every player? Because there's always the problem that some characters will be played more than others.
So we're launching with 25. And it's funny that you say that because I don't think that I don't think every person will gravitate to every character. I know that I don't, and that's what makes the game so amazing. Is that there is going to be a character in this game that you will love and that you'll gravitate to based on the style of gameplay that you like, or the type of characters you like. Whether you like fantasy genres, or if you like steampunk, or whatever it may be, there's going to be a character for you. I'm finding, actually, because of like how much we're testing the game and how much effort we're putting into making sure that the game is balanced, that the more I like, there might be a character that I just generally don't want to play because I don't like. It's like I don't want to be a support class, or I don't want to do this. But when I actually force myself to play it, I'm actually finding that I'm really, really enjoying it because of how well the characters are balanced, and how like we're trying to make each character effective at not only being able to deal damage and like win a firefight or a battle with swords or whatever it may be. We're trying to balance that with also making their actual class within the team also like really effective.
So could you tell us a little bit more about the process of creating all these characters and actually balancing them? And do you have plans to launch new characters after the game comes out?
So for the process of how we got to having 25 characters in the game, it was actually pretty cool because Gearbox, after Borderlands 2, we had 6 characters, and Gearbox was like, they love making these cool characters. They love putting like all this like effort into making these like really unique, like fun to look at, fun to play characters, and so they just started like just creating just as much as they possibly could, and they came up with this idea of like, hey, why don't we just make a game that has just tons of characters and have them all be like insane and different and like maybe not even make sense together. And then once they did that, once we had like that idea of like, let's make it's like dumping out a toy box and you have all these crazy toys like fighting each other, then we had to come up with a way like, how do you make those characters coexist in the same level or in the same universe. And that's where the story campaign came in with the last star and the end of the universe. As far as are we going to have more in the future, that would be awesome. We would love to. Right now we're just focused on getting the game done and getting like the 25 finished, getting the story mode finished, getting the competitive multiplayer finished. So once we do that and we get it out into people's hands, and hopefully if people like it and people demand more, we would love to support it in the future.
So I saw that you can change in the third-person perspective when performing this special ability. Will this be the only time when the game changes the perspective, or can you switch it just as you like?
You can't switch it on your own, but the game does take advantage of several different times when it will jump out to third-person mode. Like you mentioned, there's several moves that each character will do where you'll pop into third person. You'll be able to see like that particular move unfold. And that's really important to us because there's a lot of cool unlocks for the game, like different skins and stuff for each character. So as you play a character more and more, you're going to unlock new skins for them to change the way they look. And in a first-person game, it's hard to actually like appreciate that and be able to actually see it all. So we wanted to create a lot of these cool moves where it will pop you into third person. You'll be able to see those new skins. You can also we have like a character lineup as you're picking your characters. So it's almost similar it looks similar to like a fighting game. So you'll be able to see your character there and see the different skins that you've chosen. But yeah, it's really cool.
With all these shooters on the mark, what do you think will set Battleborn apart?
I would say 1, the character variety, and 2, the story that we have. I mean, having all of these characters is going to just give people a ton of stuff to master. It's going to take a lot of time, I think, for people to like truly appreciate and truly get into each character and get all the way through those character ranks. And the story is just amazing. The story is a lot of fun, and it's like, the setting of where the game takes place, and seeing like how the characters all interact with each other, and also the humor of the game. I mean, the humor is that like you're gonna get that Gearbox humor like you got in Borderlands 2, and that's that's gonna set it apart from any game because that's just hard to replicate.
What did you learn while creating Borderlands, and what are you making different this time with Battleborn?
So many things. It's a good question. So we learned in Borderlands, one of the things we learned was how to create those characters. It actually takes an extremely long time to make one of those characters. They're all very, very complex, and the Borderlands skill trees are all very complex. And just to figure out how to balance that was really tough. And in the beginning, when we were first making Battleborn, we were trying to figure out how the hell are we going to actually make that many characters? Because it took us a long time to make the 6 from Borderlands 2. But we had to kind of just figure out how to streamline that process and how to be able to work in parallel on multiple different things at once. And then once we kind of got into that flow and figured that out, then we were able to start churning out all of these cool characters that we had pitches for. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that we learned from jumping from one to the other.
Will there be any shoot and loot, one of the aspects that made Borderlands so great?
There's definitely going to be loot. We have a loot system that is different. It's different than the Borderlands loot system, but you're still going to see some familiar things. You'll see rarity of loots. So you'll have some common things that you'll find, and you'll have some more rare and sort of legendary things that you'll find. And those things that you can actually take that loot and you can plug those into these loadout slots within the menu. And you can take those loadouts into a match, and that's going to change the way that character plays, or it's going to give that character some extra buffs, or make them stronger, or faster, or more defense, or there's just a ton of different things that we're able to do with that.
To round the interview up, if you had the chance to make a team of Borderlands characters to appear in Battleborn, which would you choose and why?
That's interesting. Well, I do want to say that we're trying to keep the universes completely separate, so I would not expect that to ever happen. But if I had to, I'm a big Zero fan. I love Zero. I think most of the world loves Zero, so I would definitely take him and Mordecai. Those are the 2 players I played in Borderlands 2, so I would have to take those guys.
And thanks for taking your time and answering our questions.
Cool. Appreciate it.